These past 5 years have been a tale of really a story of bad to worse, where this term started with engineering beyond any modern expectations, and which we saw with Project Imran, and how we saw the result management system collapse because the real result management system had to be put in place. Ever since then, we saw Imran Khan come in and dismantle democratic structures, dismantle regulatory bodies, dismantle anything that he really saw wasting his time, and preferring to run government through who I've termed the chief coercive officer, who was Mr. Faiz Hamid at the time, and choosing to run his alliances through the same, and choosing the route of convenience rather than risking being shouted down in parliament, which happened to him once. And as soon as it happened, Mr. Khan's ego was so large that it stopped him from ever completing his promises about parliament, such as, if you remember, there will be question time in parliament every week, is what Mr. Khan promised. Mr. Khan promised a vibrant public accounts committee. He made so many promises that now sound like bad jokes. And then we saw a loosening of Pakistan's grip upon economic competence due to one bad effort after another, slapstick and fundamentally superficial attempts at governance and policy. We saw our Prime Minister telling us that our salvation lies in farming chicken and taking better care of male buffaloes, and how we should really look towards the border of Japan and Germany for understanding how to better process our own borders. Beyond that, a classic tale of really unpreparedness. And in all of this, we saw the establishment not really suffer for their egregious violation of democratic space that had been hard fought for and very little gain, but still a little bit of gain ever since the Charter of Democracy led to the post-Musharraf era. But we saw all of those gains whittled down by an Imran Khan feeling like he is an exemption and he is special and rules don't really apply to him. And the reason why this is an extension of the same is that ever since Imran Khan was taken out of this process, the people that have come to replace him really should have known better. Even if Imran Khan can perhaps not be blamed for needing to learn his lessons or know better at the time he came in, these people, having so recently been put through the grind of an undemocratic theft of mandate, should really have known better, but they have proven themselves to not only be compliant and willing to work upon their old wages, they've also proven themselves to be willing to fit into the straitjacket that Imran Khan decided was not for him. And it is shameful that it all came down to this grab for power at a time when the economy was heating up to such a crisis that Imran Khan would have been electoral history if he'd been let to complete his term. But yet the desire to come into power so that you could undo the corruption references that were building up to a crescendo against your respective families, or that you could take part in the appointment of a public servant around whom the irregular power of this country at least coalesces. Just for that decision making, we saw these parties squander even more and really just continue down the path that Imran Khan took this country down, and continue down it for even more ulterior motives than Imran Khan's. And we see the same script playing out, where in the past last month, towards the final stint of this tenure, we've seen what Dawn has recorded as about 98 bills passed, and some of them, the law minister has come on record and said these weren't even bills that were floated in our tenure, these were from the previous government. So that's the amount of knowledge these people have of the laws that they are passing, and their disregard for the effect that these laws will have is also apparent from the content of these laws. The army being allowed to encroach into civilian space, being given the ostensible excuse of operating businesses under the guise of welfare without that welfare being audited. Now, I'm not going to, this isn't really something that, to my mind at least, will pass legal tests, but the fact that they'll have to be put to legal tests is squarely upon the shoulders of this government. And it is a tragedy, really, that our entire democratic process now, the two parties that made the conventional two-party system, as well as the one party that was supposed to be the democratic hope, have all really exposed themselves as nothing but convenient stooges and pawns, and we are marching towards a caretaker setup, which everyone is rumoring to have been put together by less than consensus democratically, and that will exceed its 90-day mandate of the constitution because of an illegitimate excuse that the election commission now has to process census data for delimitation. And meanwhile, the Supreme Court has been rendered, through partly its own folly, it's been rendered an observer just like the rest of us. So we are headed towards a very undemocratic space, and even by Pakistani standards, one that is staring quite deeply into the abyss.